Welcome to Salisbury University on the Air, a program highlighting the activities and the people of the campus. I'm your host, Susan Purnell. As we are in the midst of the holiday season, it is important to celebrate those who act in a selfless manner and think of others, not only during this time, but throughout the year. Despite the trying times of the COVID-19 pandemic, SU community has continued to lend a hand. Here to discuss some of the ways that SU faculty, staff, and students have assisted residents of Salisbury and beyond is Valerie Randall-Lee, Assistant Vice President of Student Affairs and Dean of Students. So nice to meet you, Val.
Nice to meet you too,
Thank
Susan.
you for being with us today. You know, in these circumstances of today, it is amazing to me how SU community is still giving to those around them.
Yeah.
How important is that?
I think it's very important. It falls really much into our mission, which is to be able to teach our students to use what they've learned in the classroom within real life, I guess you want to say, to be able to give back to their communities. And Salisbury, the city of Salisbury, is so important to the university.
And vice versa.
Exactly. There's a great partnership there. And we want to be able to do whatever we can to help our students feel that commitment to the area around us. So yeah, it's very important.
Now, one of the major opportunities going on recently is the Turkey Trot run.
Yeah.
5K. How many people got involved? Tell us a little bit about that event.
Well, it's a volunteer event. It's an intramural event, actually. And this year we actually did still have 100 participants to it. They did it virtually.
How do you do that?
Well, they ran their course on their own schedule.
Oh.
So they would pay $5 that they would donate towards it. And then it was open to all faculty, staff, and students. So you could do it on your own.
I see. Okay. Well, that works in these days.
Yeah.
You can't do it together, so.
I know.
Yeah.
So you can still try to do it.
Yeah.
And yeah, we gave them the information and they just went with it.
So student organizations play a big part in the outreach activities of the campus. Tell us about some of the ways the students have helped.
Okay. Well, one of the areas that I like to put a lot of focus on too is some of our fraternities and sororities because it is such a core piece for them to be able to give back to the community. And so we had a number of them. For instance, Kappa Alpha Psi is one of our fraternities. They conducted a turkey drive this year for families that were in need. And then Delta Gamma Sorority had multiple fundraisers for their philanthropy, which is for Service for Sight that they did. And then Omega Psi Phi and Phi Beta Sigma each held clothing drives. So local and also national, every single fraternity and sorority has a philanthropy that they give to.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
That's great.
So they do a lot that way.
So these volunteer efforts are not just actual donations,
Right.
but a lot of times require a lot of physical energy on the part of the participants, such as the Chesapeake Housing Mission. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, we have a really good partnership with Chesapeake Housing Mission. We, this year, have built a wheelchair accessible ramps for a house in Ocean Pines. And in fact, we actually do somewhere between 10 and 12 builds every single year, to contribute wherever's needed.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Now, the holidays are generally a time when families gather, but as we know in Thanksgiving, we were encouraged not to gather.
Right.
So that leaves a lot of people on their own, by themselves, particularly the elderly. How do you, as a community at SU, help the elderly at this time?
Okay. Well, we're participating in Home Instead Senior Care, which is a Be a Santa to a Senior program. So those participating can bring an ornament from a tree with the name and the wishes, and those for a local senior.
So do you take the ornament to the person?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Well, actually, they pick an ornament from the tree and then they take care of whatever the wish may be.
Oh,
for
it's a
that
wish.
senior.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, I
yes.
understand.
Sorry
that.
about that.
No, I just didn't get how that worked. That's great.
Yeah.
Now, also, we know that a lot of organizations work with the Maryland Food Bank. So does SU, correct?
Yes, we do.
What do you all do with that?
Well, we're currently running our annual end of the year campaign through Delmarva Public Media. And so we're donating 10% of each donation to the Maryland Food Bank. And then the Community Foundation of the Eastern Shore is going to be doing a match of the donation up to $2,500.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it's really wonderful.
That is. It always helps when you have that little incentive. Well, every dollar you give is going to be matched by the Community Foundation, who does so much for our community.
Exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now, we noticed in November that a lot of the SU police were a little scruffier than usual.
They were.
A little scruffier. Mm-hmm. Why was that? What was the purpose?
Well, they're making a minimum donation of $30 to help support youth in the Eastern Shore battling cancer. And so we allowed our participants to do No Shave November. So they did not shave, so you were right. They were walking around with a little bit more growth on their face. They didn't have to shave at all for that month of November, and then they contributed to it.
Oh, that's
so
great.
What a fun thing.
Wow. They got paid to not shave.
Exactly.
Well, they paid to not shave.
They paid to not shave.
There you go. That's
exactly.
Great.
Fun for them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the way that people can help is not limited to their free time. Sometimes I think classes involve community giving. Is that right?
That is absolutely true. And we have one of our faculty members, Dr. Diana Wagner. She has an outdoor leadership course, which which actually also we have a kayaking course too. So they'll spend time during the semester on the water, and what they're doing there is they're cleaning up litter from our waterways. That otherwise would be and otherwise it would be so hard to reach. But with them going out there in the kayaks, they can pick it up. Yeah.
Wow, I had no idea that you all did that.
What a great way to get your credits and clean the area.
Absolutely.
You know?
Now, none of the events that we've talked about are actually requirements.
Correct.
People are doing this out of the goodness of their own hearts.
Correct.
So, how impressed are you with the students and with the faculty that are doing so much to help others?
I tell you, I'm so impressed with it. We have a campus that really is committed to working with others and being a part of the city and the area that we live in. And to see our students take their time away from their academics and trying to figure out themselves how to pay for school day to day, but to go out and give to others, it's a great thing. It really is wonderful of a community matching up with their campus.
You know what, and there's no better lesson learned, right?
It's so true.
Yeah. I mean, my mom used to say, those who give have all things.
Absolutely.
And I believe that.
It's so true.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, and for all the giving that SU does to our community.
Thank you so much, and have a great holiday.
And you too.
Okay, thanks.
Last month, we spotlighted some of the exciting undergraduate research taking place at SU. This month, we take a look at another way in which SU students are expanding the boundaries of science and more through their scholarship.
This summer, I was looking at grit, which is defined by Angela Duckworth and her research team as passion and perseverance for long-term goals.
It's another way of saying stick-to-itiveness. So how likely is a student, when they face a challenge, to continue to persevere? And in order to persevere continuously, one needs to have a passion for that subject.
Me and Dr. Rojas looked at how grit, among other personality traits, could possibly predict success of students in introductory chemistry courses. And the way that we quantified it was with Angela Duckworth has an original grit scale that she used, which was a 12-item, 5-point Likert scale. So it was a survey that students took and rated themselves, like, do you like chemistry? Are you passionate about chemistry? Things like that. And students rated themselves very much like me, somewhat like me, questions like that.
And our study actually found, it corroborated Dr. Angela Duckworth's original study, which shows that grit is a great predictor for student success. In fact, our study looked at a wide variety of metrics which have been attributed to student success in STEM courses: conscientiousness in preparation for course, attendance. We looked at quiz grades, we looked at homework grades, we looked at exam scores, and it turns out that honestly, out of all the attributes that we looked at, the only one that showed a positive correlation was this combined grit score, which includes passion and perseverance for chemistry.
The results were sort of surprising. Mostly it was what we expected. We expected grit to be positively correlated with final course grade, meaning that grit accurately predicts success in STEM. The one thing that we did find that was surprising, though, is if we just used Angela's original scale without our passion subscale, we actually found a negative correlation between grit and final course grade, because Angela's scale actually only measured perseverance and not passion. So we found a negative correlation between simply perseverance and final course grade. But when you combined passion and perseverance, you get actual grit score, and that's positively correlated.
We wanted to investigate this as it relates to STEM because traditionally STEM has been one of those fields where there's a diversity problem, there's an inclusion problem. If someone's socioeconomic standing impacts their preparation for standardized tests, then having access to study materials, to tutors, leads to greater SAT scores. And if colleges are using SAT scores as a metric to admit students, then perhaps we're missing some truly creative and talented students because they didn't have access to those resources. So Marissa's project was looking at what behavioral traits might be better predictors for student success than previous performance.
What really made me passionate about partaking in this particular project is the lack of diversity in STEM, which is usually caused by admissions decisions in college and them being based on GPA. If we could use a different scale for determining their ability to be successful in the STEM field, we could possibly increase diversity largely.
SU students and faculty always seem to look outside the box on their research projects, and this one was clearly no different. One of SU's largest annual volunteer efforts put on by the campus is the Big Event, hosted by the Student Government Association. It was held recently, with students assisting campus neighbors with raking leaves and other light yard work. Here to discuss the recent success is David Mccreary, president of the Student Government Association. So welcome, David.
Thank you.
And so good to meet you.
Great to meet you as well.
Congratulations on being the new president of the Student Government Association.
Thank you.
That's a big deal.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
A good honor and a big position.
Great. The SGA, Student Government Association, has been conducting the Big Event and I Love Salisbury community cleanup projects for years. Tell us a little bit about how that came about.
Well, the Big Event is a national program that does cleanups and community service throughout the country at various different universities. So I believe in 1982, it started at Texas A&M, and then it just spread like wildfire across the country. And you have some in Penn State and different universities across the country. So, but similarly, I Love Salisbury started in 2007, and it's pretty much the same thing, but with the Salisbury flair to it. And it's just our way to foster that big, great relationship that we have with our neighboring Salisbury, just to build those relationships and have a great community and synergy throughout the community.
Well, it is great, and it hasn't always been a great relationship. So I think this kind of thing has certainly helped in mending any broken fences from before.
Definitely.
Years back. Things are really, really good. You're right now. Tell me the kind of assistance that you provide through this program.
Well, some of the things that we do for the community members is raking. We do some building projects, small building projects. We do some painting and some other things to just help them around the community. And mostly what we get from it is helping the elderly as well, because there are a lot of families and community members that can't do those things for themselves. And it's really nice to have college students to come and help them out, come and interact with them. They probably don't see family a lot, especially now during COVID. So it's definitely a great thing to get out there and just show them that we care, and this is our community too. It's our second home.
That's a good point. It is your community too, if only for 4 years, or longer if you go to graduate school.
Right.
So tell me about how a person sitting at home now, looking at us, would register to receive the services of that program.
Right. Well, we mostly do online registrations. We do when it wasn't a pandemic issue, we did door knocking campaigns and door hanging campaigns. So it was a really interactive sign up thing. But they can definitely always reach out to the Salisbury University Student Government Association. Ring us, give us a call, and we can jot your name down and do it the paper way as well. So it's all about contacts and just reaching out and getting that assistance.
That's great. Now, you did hold the big event in the middle of November this year, despite the pandemic. Tell us how many people were involved in all that?
So altogether, I believe we had 130 students, a lot less than usual, just given the circumstances.
Sure.
And I think we did about 35 houses this year, 35 different houses across the communities, spread out throughout the university.
So how was that different from years past?
So in years past, it was much bigger. We probably reached about 700 students at one point, and
Oh, gosh.
upwards to those numbers as well. So it's definitely been a smaller situation, a smaller event, but definitely given the same impact that we want to have on our community.
Now, are there plans to hold the I Love Salisbury event this coming spring?
Yes, there are. We tried to revamp it a little bit. At different universities, like I said before, it is held in the fall. The big event is held in the fall, and I Love Salisbury was originally held in the fall, but we want to revamp that, change it so it's not the same event 2 semesters in a row or 2 years in a row, and have that distinction between big event and I Love Salisbury. So we're definitely working hard on revamping it and making it a different outreach to the community than just raking and leaves and things like that. We'll still be doing that, but it's going to be a different take on it as well.
So what are some of the other initiatives that the SGA is involved in on campus and off?
Right. So we definitely are working hard. It's been a tough year, but we're still have our head going forward. We're doing at the beginning of the semester, we were doing some housing subletting assistance. It was started by our Director of Civic Engagement, Haley Taylor. We saw that there was a problem with students not being able to get out of their leases, and then students not being able to find off-campus housing. So we wanted to try to foster that relationship between students and homeowners and subleasers and things like that, so we can ensure that they have somewhere to live and can get out of those contracts with their landlords and things like that.
Yeah, that's an issue in these days. That's probably really very helpful for people to have a place to go to ask that question, how do we do this?
Definitely. I think it's going to be very, very impactful, especially moving forward. Yep. We're also doing Fill the Square, which is we do it every semester, which is a food drive and a coat drive. We collect coats from the students, unwanted clothes, nice unwanted clothes that we can then give out to the community members that are in need, as well as canned foods and non-perishables that we can give out to those who really need it, especially at a time like this. I believe we're going to be doing our next Fill the Square next semester, so that'll be coming up. And
do people bring it to the school?
Yep.
Like if I have a bunch of coats, I just would bring them during that day?
Right.
Is that it? Okay.
Right. It's going to be on a particular day. We don't have it all meshed out right now, but it's going to be most likely in a Wacomico room. Sometimes we stack them all up in a tower and make it look nice, but we bring it all in, and then I believe we took it to Halo, in Salisbury, the assistance in Salisbury. So we're definitely going to be working on that.
I'm sure they were thankful for that.
Very, very thankful.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's a lot greater homeless situation today than there was a year ago. So
definitely.
Everything helps.
Everything helps.
Yeah. Well, it's great to see such a great outreach program, and I know you should be so proud of what you all are doing for everyone around you here in Salisbury.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Great to meet you.
Great to meet you too.
Virtual arts events are still taking place through the winter months. Let's take a look at some of the activities that are available for viewing. Salisbury University's dedication to the community does not end with the calendar year. We can see how important service is to the campus community, which has worked through these difficult times to continue these volunteer efforts to help others. I'd like to thank my guests, Valerie Randall-Lee, Assistant Vice President for Student Affairs and Dean of Students, and David Mccreary, President of the SU Student Government Association. I'm Susan Purnell, and this has been Salisbury University on the Air. Thank you for watching.